This is the Extratime.com podcast featuring the Republic of Ireland's scoreless draw with Belgium. I'm Oisin Langan. Soon enough, we'll hear from John O'Shea and we'll get the thoughts of Sammy Smodics on the scoreless draw with Belgium at the Aviva. By the way, if you want to get analysis of last night's Cork City Treaty United game, Treaty United Cork City game I should say, then go to wherever you get your podcasts and you'll be able to find the Voice Notes podcast as normal. Tommy Barrett spoke to us after the game. He's the Treaty United manager. He was really good on what the club are doing at the moment, how they're getting such good crowds, and also he spoke about that article that was on the 42 during the week about toxicity in football. It was written by Declan Bogue. There was a lot of negative reaction to it. I would suggest that much of the negative reaction came from people who didn't actually read the article. Tommy addresses the issue in his interview and his words are very much worth hearing. Barry Murphy, by the way, also talks to us about the Premier Division season so far and the upcoming Dublin Derby next Friday night. Luke Jordan also did a podcast which was released on Friday, early on Friday, in which he spoke to Stephen Beattie. That's also worth a listen. Right, the analysis of Extratime.com's Paul Corcoran coming up shortly. He joined us earlier on from the Aviva Stadium. First of all, though, let's hear from interim manager John O'Shea on his team's scoreless draw with Belgium.
We had the best chances. We were aware beforehand. We were kind of thinking that they were going to go that 4-3-3 shape. Obviously, look, we knew the talented squad that they have, that they made changes, and the players that they have obviously coming on were talented youngsters as well, playing at top clubs around Europe too. So it was going to be a challenge. But when you saw the couple of chances, the big chances we created early on, it was exactly what we'd worked from. To be compact, aggressive. Look for the 10s, look for the opposite 10s, combine. And it was a shame we didn't get the rewards in the sense from that first half especially. That was the big thing for me.
Sammy, his ability to take the ball on the turn played a key factor in a couple of those chances.
Yeah, and look, and that's why obviously we went with Chio and Sammy to support Evan in that sense. The form they're in, playing for their clubs, the confidence that they have, and obviously the connections they have with the team as well was a big factor.
Interim Republic of Ireland manager John O'Shea speaking to the media after the game. Sammy Smodics, who we mentioned there, made his debut. He was pretty impressive as well. This game, by the way, was live on Virgin Media. You can watch it back on the Virgin Media player. Afterwards, Will Dalton of Virgin Media caught up with Sammy Smodics.
We've done some real work in the week, on shape and on them and, how we could stop them and ultimately how we could go the other way and hurt them. And I think in spaces of the game we did that. On another day we probably get the win.
You've been scoring goals for fun for Blackburn this season. Are you buzzing to get your first Irish goal?
Yeah, I thought I had it when Will Smallbone set it off to me. It got blocked and, it was great to get that debut, especially at the Aviva, and hopefully many more to come.
Are you enjoying the camp? Has John brought a new energy in? Brian Kerr in there, Paddy McCarthy, other coaches, Glenn Whelan, of course. Has it been a good week? Are you enjoying yourself? Are you looking forward to Tuesday?
Yeah, it's been a great camp, great week. Sometimes these international weeks can be long and it's been anything but. It's been very chilled, but, we've worked hard. Tactically, we've worked very hard and we was very aware of Belgium, and I'm sure we'll rest, recover and get ready for the Switzerland game.
Sammy Smodics speaking to Will Dalton of Virgin Media. As I say, if you want to watch the game in full, you can do so on the Virgin Media player. Now, I'm joined by Paul Corcoran of Extratime.com from the Aviva Stadium. Paul, I want to put a couple of tweets to you. Neil O'Riordan is quoting the Belgian boss, Domenico Tedesco, and apparently Tedesco said, more or less boring game, low rhythm, many difficulties to build up game, slow passes, no sharpness. On the other side of things, Conan Byrne, a regular on Extratime.com and of course RTE, amongst others, and just an all-round good guy. He says a lot of positives from that. Coleman is still top of his game. We missed Omobamidele when he was injured. Cullen and Smallbone were a good partnership in midfield. And he simply says John O'Shea and follows it up with 2 green heart emojis. Negative-wise, he says that Belgium team are horrendous. We can't get carried away by this. What was your reaction to the game?
It's hard to gauge. I was having a conversation with a few of the other guys covering the game on our way down to the press conference, and while Belgium, they didn't set the world alight, they didn't look great, but they are still like fourth in the world, I think they were coming into this game. And crucially, they're heading for the Euros this summer, and these players are all playing for a place in that squad, to go to that tournament, and they didn't look great. So I don't know, is it a case the team aren't that great? I mean, I don't know what run they're on, but they've quite a run of games without a loss. I don't think the current manager has actually lost a game while managing Belgium. I think it was just a poor night at the races for Belgium, to be honest with you.
But yet still in their starting 11, you would recognise most names. I'm aware that we're obviously obsessed with the Republic of Ireland and football generally. But not everyone is like that. And because this game was on at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, maybe people didn't see it because that's family time and they were doing other things. So obviously you were at it. Try and give me a picture of the game and how we set up and how we went about things.
You could argue it's a very relatively strong team, well, a very strong team that Ireland put out. So, I mean, I think I noted in my report that only 2 of the starting team from the New Zealand game started today. But to be fair, that's not much of a note, to be fair. But they kind of set up with that normal kind of what we've seen before, even under Stephen Kenny. The 3 centre backs. Collins, Amabama Daly, and O'Shea, and then you your 2 wing backs then, and 2 strong wing backs. Robbie Brady playing his first game in well over a year for Ireland, on the left, and then Seamus Coleman back in as well, first time in 12 months since that France game last year in Dublin. Then on the right, Smallbone then partnered Josh Cullen in the centre. So again, kind of a strong pairing there, and Evan Ferguson, he had led the line by himself, but he had Sammy Smodics, obviously a lot of talk about him, his first game in an Ireland shirt, playing off him on the left, and then Chidozie Ogbene then on the right. That's a pretty strong team, and you're the only actual international debutant there was Smodics, who obviously has been on fire all season in the championship.
Well, let's talk about Smodics because he's exactly the kind of player we need. Now, he's scored 21 goals in 36 championship matches this season, which is not bad at all. But he said during the week that actually he sees himself maybe more as a number 10, maybe more as an attacking midfielder. But Paul, let's get carried away. Can we hang all of our hopes on him?
Well, I'm not so sure about that, I suppose, but it's an interesting point that you mentioned that he said he sees himself as more of a goal creator, because I think that's kind of more so what he did, and he did get involved in some decent build-up play. I know very early on, Ogbene had a chance when he was put in on goal. There was a mixture of Ferguson and Smodics kind of linking up together, but Smodics eventually put a lovely through ball to Ogbene to set him up. Now, obviously, eventually wide, but it was an impressive bit of play nonetheless. Smodics again, kind of midway through that first half as well. Again, like he just looked sharper to make on the ball, but again, he came very close to finding Evan Ferguson with a really, really good through ball. The Belgian defence kind of muscled Ferguson out of it at the time. And I know he got forward for a shot kind of in the second half. Now, I think it got blocked by a Belgian defender, but it was a really good move. Now, that was Ogbene who created the move, but he certainly got on. He wasn't afraid to take the shot. The ball has worked well across to him, but it was blocked by a Belgian defender in the end. Like, he did look sharp, looked to be very comfortable calling for the ball, looked interested. I maybe I wouldn't go so far as to say we can hang our hat on Sammy Smodics just yet.
Let's talk about the point that Conan Byrne made, that Smallbone and Cullen were a good midfield pairing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I suppose maybe it's it probably makes it clear then why I know Cullen picked up the man of the match award this evening as well. I thought it was good. I thought they marshaled that midfield quite well. Like, crucially, I suppose Belgium didn't have a lot of clear attacking prowess tonight. They were probably pushed out to the wings very much so. Throughout the game. So, I thought Cullen and Smallbone, they managed that centre of the park very well, stuck very close together, pushed Belgium out wide as much as they could. So, like, I thought it was it was strong against a strong team. So, I was reasonably impressed by the pairing there tonight.
So we won't get carried away, but there are reasons to be cheerful. Is that what you're saying?
100%. I mean, obviously it's not been a hugely illustrious period of time for Ireland over the last couple of years, and it'd be so easy to sit here and be quite negative. But my initial thoughts, basically, when I closed the laptop report done, was that that's a strong performance. Look, they didn't set the world alight necessarily, but they did get chances against a strong team. They didn't manage to finish them. I suppose the Belgian goalkeepers, as it was, because they actually did make a change there towards the end of the game, but they were only threatened once, and that was properly, and that was Ferguson's penalty. But they did get up there. They went close a couple of times, just fired wide. And that's against one of the top teams, and that's a team that are going to the Euros. I thought they acquitted themselves quite well. I think there's a lot of positive to take. A lot of, I think they can build on that. It'll be interesting to see how they get on Tuesday. Like, I suppose it'd be nice if it is O'Shea's last game as Ireland manager. Maybe nice if they could finish that with a win, or look, even if they go unbeaten these two games, I think that's very positive.
Did John O'Shea give any indication as to who he might play or what he might do against Switzerland? I appreciate he's got a press conference on Monday, so he'll talk more about it then, but I'm sure he was asked after today's game.
No, believe it or not, actually, it didn't come up. There was a lot of talk of maybe the recalls in, or like players who haven't played for a while and stuff like that. And there actually was a question on that midfield pairing of Josh Cullen and Will Smallbone. But no inkling now as to who he'll play. I mean, I suppose, you'd like to think that he probably will feature some of the guys that maybe didn't get a game. I know, and this is only me talking, I suppose maybe it'd be nice if the likes of, Jake O'Brien and Finn Azaz can maybe get a few minutes. Just, obviously they haven't been capped yet. So maybe it'd be nice if they've been brought along, not just you're handing them caps, but, I presume they've been called up for a reason. So it'd be nice maybe if we can see what they can do out there for Ireland.
And Paul, you mentioned there that formation-wise and maybe even tactics-wise, it wasn't overly different to what we would have seen under Stephen Kenny. So did they go about it a different way? Like, the way sometimes when it's a back three, it turns into a back four or back five when you don't have the ball. Was that noticeable? Was there any kind of different movements? Was there anything noticeably different about how we went about things?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was actually brought up when John O'Shea spoke to the press after the game as well, that maybe if this was this time last year, maybe under Kenny, you might expect a very typical performance might be set up kind of a similar way, but maybe Ireland have a lot of possession, but maybe still come away with nothing. So and maybe cough up a goal here or there. But tonight it was definitely, like, Belgium definitely had more possession. I don't want to say it was an Ireland of old performance, we'll say, where you just absorb attack after attack, but they were definitely happy. They're very comfortable playing without the ball tonight. It was a bit different. Well, the system looked very similar. It was definitely a bit different. They're kind of happy to let Belgium have the ball at times and get back into their shape and kind of absorb some of that pressure. So it was a little bit different.
Okay. What about the general vibe and atmosphere around the ground? What was that like?
So it was good. Look, it was a poor crowd. I mean, I think that's a separate issue. I think that's probably been talked about ad nauseum. I think maybe leading into these two friendlies, with the the dual package that I think people had to buy. So there was only 38,000 people there. I think it was fairly quiet atmosphere-wise during the game. The singing section on the south stand didn't make a lot of noise. I suppose there weren't loads of incidences that would have maybe got the crowd pumped at times. But certainly, at the full-time whistle, where I think towards the end of last year, you probably would have heard boos at times. There was definitely an appreciative applause, you might describe it as, with the performance tonight.
So there's a bit of momentum going into the Swiss game on Tuesday night.
I think you could say that, and I think maybe I said it last thing. I mean, maybe to play a different team, but I think they can look to build on this performance now. Strong performance against one of the best teams in the world, and obviously, maybe I'm sure John O'Shea will love to come away with a win under his belt as Ireland manager. I think definitely, and with the chances they created, like if Ferguson puts away the penalty, or even Evan Ferguson, there was a really, really good move from the off in the second half, where they got down the field, and Evan Ferguson, he headed the ball just over the bar. Like, they created chances, so if they can create those chances again against Switzerland, and maybe a little bit of luck, or maybe a little bit of better timing, and put one of them away, like, there's definitely a win to play for there on Tuesday night.
And how was Ferguson after he missed the penalty? Because he's going through a mini drought now. I know he'll get out of it, and John O'Shea said during the press conference that this is something that happens to strikers, and it happens to the best strikers, and he'd know because he played with a few. But like, did he look a bit drained? Were his shoulders slumped after he failed to score the penalty? How did he look? How did he react?
I think, to his credit, like, he got back at it again. Like, obviously, huge disappointment, but I think he'll probably know himself. I mean, I need to watch back again, but it did look like he slipped a little bit on his run up, and I think that's really what caused it, because it was a pretty poor penalty. But I think actually that's what caused it. But he did get back at it again, and I think he threw himself around quite well, and went in against defenders when he could. O'Shea was asked about this as well in the press conference, and O'Shea was quick to praise him. Obviously, he said, it'll happen to Ferguson. Any good striker goes through a period of time where maybe they might struggle to get a goal. But he was very impressed by, he didn't seem to knock his confidence. Like even he had that chance early in the second half, and obviously we had very few chances. Like again, maybe if his timing's a little bit better, he scores that goal. But certainly he was confident to get into that position and go for goal when that ball came in. He beat a couple of Belgian defenders to that ball as well. So I thought he responded quite well from missing the penalty.
Okay, Paul Corcoran of Extratime.com. Thanks for joining us from the media room of the Aviva. You were in the press box earlier on to watch the Republic of Ireland draw 0-0 with Belgium.
Thanks, Oisin.
He sat through the cold to bring us his thoughts and analysis of the Republic of Ireland against Belgium, but was wrapped up and warm in the media room when we had our post-match chat. That was Paul Corcoran of Extratime.com. And the Republic of Ireland game wasn't the only footballing action on Saturday. The Avenir All-Ireland Cup continued, got underway actually. In Group A, it finished Peamount United 2, Linfield Women 2, Cork City 2, Wexford 2, a final score from Group B. In Group C, DLR Waves beaten 1-0 by Crusader Strikers, Treaty United drawing 1-1 against Shamrock Rovers, and in Group D, it finished Sligo Rovers 0, Galway United 2, Galway United with a big win against Cork City last week, following it up with a good win against Sligo Rovers this week. By the way, if you want to check out the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, you can do so. We had Barry Murphy, formerly of Shamrock Rovers, St. Pat's and Bohemians, on the Premier Division season so far, and the big Dublin derby next Friday night between Shamrock Rovers and Bows. You actually don't really realise how old Barry is until you Google him, and I mean that as a compliment. He played for Shamrock Rovers under Roddy Collins in 2005. I was actually taking a look at the starting 11 from that team. So many legends. We'll have Owen Doyle, by the way, next week, another former Shamrock Rovers player. No doubt he'll talk to us about many things, but the Dublin derby will be amongst them. There was also a chat with Tommy Barrett, the Treaty United manager, not just on their 0-0 draw with Cork City last night, but also on what they're doing at the club at the moment. They're getting huge crowds. There was 3,147 people there last night. There's a buzz around Treaty United. He also spoke to us about toxicity in football. Now that's a conversation about toxicity generally. They don't really have an issue with it at Treaty United, but he doesn't shy away from the subject. It all stemmed from that article in the 42 by Declan Bogue, which sparked a lot of negative reaction. Now, I would suggest that a lot of people who reacted to it didn't actually read it. I read it and I didn't find it particularly unfair. Thought the headline was a bit sensationalist, but the actual article itself was okay. And a lot of people framed it as a GA man having a go at soccer. It's not the case. Declan called out GA in that as well, so it was actually a really decent article. Another podcast treat for you was Luke Jordan's chat with Stephen Beattie. That is definitely worth checking out, certainly for Cork City fans, but also just fans in general. He's got a pretty amazing story. I have to say I didn't realise the full detail of the story until I heard him talk about it. We'll be back with more on Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. We'll have a reaction podcast to the Republic of Ireland against Switzerland. John O'Shea's final match in charge, or is it? Could he be named the permanent manager? We won't find out until early April. Judging on what he did against Belgium, maybe it's not a bad option. But as Conan Byrne said in his tweet, let's not get carried away. As always, we'd love to hear from you. You can get in contact with us through all the usual social media channels, and you can get me via X on @Oisin Langan. If you want to read all about the Republic of Ireland and anything that's going on in the League of Ireland, go to extratime.com. Finally, my last request is that you like and subscribe. It really, really helps us out. If you're going to the Aviva on Tuesday night, enjoy it. I might see you there. Until then, take care. Bye bye.